Hello and welcome to the class today. Our topic today is nouns, and by the end of the class I'm hoping that you'll be able to understand what a noun is, understand different types of nouns, and also be able to identify nouns within a sentence. So to start with, what actually is a noun? Well, a noun is a naming word. Okay, and an easy way to remember this is that both of these words begin with N. Noun and naming. Okay, so a noun is a naming word. It is used to name people, places, objects, things, or ideas, or even emotions. So, for example, my name is Kristina. That is a noun. My name is a noun. We can name an animal, a dog, a tiger. That's a noun. Also, the name of the animal might be a noun. So, Rufus the dog, Tigger the tiger, for example. It could be a place, so a city, town, or the name of a place, London, Birmingham. So you can see there are lots of different types of naming words, and all of these are nouns. Something that you'll notice about nouns is that quite often they come with an adjective. So do you remember that we learned about adjectives describing words in a class recently? So quite often the adjective will come before a noun. So for example, big or yellow, you might have a big dog. You've got big, the adjective, and dog, the noun. The yellow car. Yellow is the adjective, the describing word, and the naming word is the noun, that's the car. Okay, and you can also have both singular and plural nouns. So singular if it's one dog, one table, or plural if it's lots of dogs in the park or several tables in the classroom. Okay, so they can be one thing or more than one thing, and they're still called nouns. And so if you're kind of wondering, if you're looking at a word and thinking, I wonder if this is a noun, there are a few questions that you can ask yourself to help you identify and remember whether it's a noun or not. You might ask yourself, is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? And is it naming something? Okay. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, so I'd like you to bear those questions in mind as I'm going to read through this extract from a story. This is from James and the Giant Peach, which you probably know. And as I'm reading through it, I'd like you just to try and notice any nouns that you think might be there. And then afterwards we can go through it together and identify those nouns. Okay? There was an old green grasshopper, as large as a large dog, sitting directly across the room from James now. And next to the old green grasshopper, there was an enormous spider. And next to the spider, there was a giant ladybird with 9 black spots on her scarlet shell. Each of these 3 was squatting upon a magnificent chair. On a sofa nearby, reclining comfortably in curled-up positions, there were a centipede and an earthworm. On the floor, over in the far corner, there was something thick and white that looked as though it might be a silkworm. But it was sleeping soundly, and nobody was paying any attention to it. Every one of these creatures was at least as big as James himself, and in the strange greenish light that shone down from somewhere in the ceiling, they were absolutely terrifying to behold. Okay, so did you recognise that story? Yeah. And did you notice any nouns within it as I was reading it? Okay, great. So if you want to start by just pointing out to me some of the nouns that you heard while I was reading it, and I'm going to underline them as you say it. So, keep thinking about, is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? And is it naming something? Okay. So, James, the name of the boy. Brilliant. Spider. Yes, that's right. Chair, yeah, very good. And sofa. Great. Yes, you've got here centipede and earthworm. Very good. And silkworm. Okay. James again at the bottom, that's right. Yeah, creatures. Brilliant. Okay. Can you see any more? Grasshopper at the top, yeah. So this one, I'm going to actually underline that whole word, old green grasshopper, because while old and green are actually adjectives describing words, because they've been hyphenated here, it's sort of communicating to us that that's all one word, that's the name of the character. So that's a bit of a confusing one, but I'm going to underline the whole thing. Okay, and you'll notice throughout these as well, and some of the ones that you've identified, like we said earlier, the adjective is coming before the noun, isn't it? So things like this, magnificent chair, you've got the adjective describing the noun, the chair. Brilliant, so you've identified some there, and we're going to come back to this text later and see if we can find any more. But first of all, I'm just going to help you understand a bit more about nouns by looking at these different types of nouns. Okay, so just remember everything that we've looked at there in the story as I tell you about these. So there are 6 main types of nouns, and we're going to look at some of those today and some of them next time. So today we're going to talk about common nouns, which are general people, places, objects or animals. So general places, the town, the city, the castle. It's a general town, it's a general city. It's not a specific one. And the same with objects or animals, the dog, the cat, the table, the chair. Okay? And within this, that includes abstract and concrete nouns. So concrete nouns are things that you can see, you can touch, taste, hear or smell. So you can use your senses. Things like a flower, you know, you can see it, touch it, smell it. A house, a castle. These are all things that you can use your senses to actually kind of know that they're concrete, they're there. And then there are also abstract nouns, which are things that you can't use your senses to discover. So you can't see, touch, taste, hear or smell them. So these would be kind of like the ideas and the emotions that we mentioned right at the beginning. So things like love, for example. It's a noun, but it's an abstract noun because it's not something that you can kind of see in the same way that you can with a house. And then in addition to that, we have proper nouns. So that describes something specific. So the name of a person or a city, for example. So my name, Kristina, that's a proper noun. London is a proper noun. It's a specific city rather than a city, which is a common noun. Does that make sense? Great. And something to remember about proper nouns is that usually they will begin with a capital letter. So it gives us a hint that it's a name of something. If you remember back to that story we were looking at earlier, things like old green grasshopper and James, they've got capital letters at the beginning. So that's the author sort of communicating to us that it's a name of someone or something. It's a proper noun. Okay. And so what I would like you to do now is just to give me an example for each of these types of nouns. So if you can give me an example of a common noun, a concrete one and an abstract one, and then a proper noun. And then what we'll do after that is we'll go back to the story and we'll use these colours to try and identify what type of nouns they all are.